It's bold, it's brash, it's very yellow, but it's not big. Today on Big Guy Small Car, it's the 2020 Mercedes-AMG CLA 45. This is going to be fun. So stepping into the CLA 45, it's quite similar to the non-AMG CLAs, except for a few important differences. The one obvious one you're going to see is the steering wheel. You've got the red centering band up here. You've got the AMG logo down here, suede inserts, and plus these two control pads down here. Now, most of this is superficial, except for the control pad. Some might say that a centering band is a little bit more than superficial, but regardless. These two control pads here do a lot of things. The one on the right, this dial, chooses your drive mode, which is a bit of a lift from Porsche, but of course, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, right? Right, so that allows you to go through. You can also choose your drive modes via the touchpad down here, which you can see is a touchpad right there. There, you can do that, the touchpad, or you can do it by touching the screen, but I like using the dial. It's simple, it's the quickest way to do it. On the left-hand side, there's another kind of control pad, and that allows you to modify various drive settings. Your loud exhaust, traction control on and off, manual mode or automatic mode, those can all be accessed through this pad here by pressing a few buttons, which I actually really like. I think it's good. Another big add this has over non-AMG CLA models is what's called the Track Pace suite of apps. And of course, you've got the AMG Performance up here as well, which gives you, like, you know, you can see your engine, your torques being used, power being used, and so on. Then you've got Track Pace. This actually allows you to time yourself on certain tracks throughout the world. They're listed here. There's Ricardo, there's Hockenheimring, there's Laguna Seca, there's Nürburgring, of course, and there's a Nürburgring Nordschleife, which is very cool. You can actually add your own tracks too, by using this app, and I've got a demo of that on another video, which I'm going to link right here, which is actually a really cool little feature. So that's track pace there. Very cool stuff. Other than that, though, you've got standard Mercedes up in here. The gauge cluster is a digital display. So is the infotainment screen, of course. It's actually, I think, one display divided into two, but it looks good. It's slick. You can change your themes. You've got racetrack, experience, and it just changes various settings. Racetrack, for example, puts you into Sport Plus mode automatically. It changes the exhaust to loud, and then the lounge mode puts your music on automatically, as you'll hear. There it goes. Symptoms like dizziness, headaches, or and then experience mode does something experiential, I don't know. Anyway, so that's also there, and of course controlled by the two thumb pads up here, which I really actually like doing. This thumb pad controls this screen in front of me, and this thumb pad controls this one here. So really cool, but it does come at a bit of a price. I mean, this CLA starts at about 59 grand, but you start to add stuff like this Napa wheel, which gives you AMG, and also AMG ride control, which changes the dampers and stuff like that, plus AMG sound, which is the exhaust system. That's $3,700. Navigation package with the MBUX augmented reality, that's $1,000. That's a really cool feature that I've also got a demo on in another video, which I'll link to here. So if you want to see how MBUX augmented navigation works, that's that. You've got active lane keep assist, active blind spot, all that kind of stuff. Actually, I don't know about blind spot, but active lane keep assist, late road departure mitigation, all that comes as part of the $1,400 package. And you've got premium package, which gives you blind spot system, it gives you Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, plus Burmester audio. There's $3,300. All told, this one here, this vehicle here is about 73 grand. Let's got wireless charging down here as well, which is important to know because I do have USB ports. I've only got USB-C on this car. There's no traditional USB ports, so keep that in mind. So it's not cheap by any means, but knowing what these performance figures are, knowing what I've heard about this car so far, I'm looking forward to taking this out on the road and see if it does the price tag justice out on the road, which I think it will. So like always when it comes to the big guy small car series on the Dan the Wheelman YouTube channel, we like to find out if the car in question or the small car in question can haul not only yourself, but your gear too. And for that, we turn to the trusty big guy hockey bag here. Couple of sticks, see what's up. So obviously first, we're gonna open the trunk, which is done so, holding down the trunk open button, and it opens all the way on the CLA. You don't have to kind of help it along to end like you do sometimes with these. You're gonna wanna flip down those rear seats. That's done so in order to fit the sticks. So you flip the lever in the trunk here. It's kind of a two-step process, which is a bit annoying, but is what it is. It's pulled down nice and flat. It's a 60-40 split. And this is a pretty big opening in this trunk. I wouldn't be surprised. Oh yeah, it's in there easy. No problem at all. And there's even room on top to easily slide these babies over too. Look at this. Beautiful. Okay, well, I do have to take the big guy hat off to sit comfortably back here, well, as comfortably as possible, because there isn't a huge amount of headroom, but I have to admit, I didn't even think I'd be able to climb in here with the seat adjusted for my 6'3" frame as it is, but getting in was not a problem, and I even have a modicum of legroom. I'm surprised at that. I don't know how they really managed to do that. It's not roomy, but it's livable for a short period for sure, and considering how big the trunk is, as we showed in the big guy hockey bag test, I'm surprised they have enough room in this package to fit this much legroom that I have here. I mean, if I move this seat up a little bit, or if I was a slightly smaller driver up front, or if I was sitting behind the passenger, it'd be fantastic. I'd be fine back here. I mean, and I remember when I had the last CLA, the non-45 version, I actually did have two adults back here for a half-hour drive, and they were pleasantly surprised as well. And you got a few creature comforts. You've got your armrest here with some cup holders. You don't have heated seats back here. That's understandable. I don't think you have, oh, you do. You have two USB ports as well. So they are the micro USB variety, USB-C, just as I said about the front seat as well. So this back seat, surprisingly livable. Surprisingly livable, I have to admit. And as we showed in the hockey bag test, the seats do flip down. It's a 60-40 split, but to do so, you have to do it from the trunk. So you have to first pull a lever in the trunk and then pull this seat down the rest of the way. But not a bad back seat considering the size of the CLA-45. Yes, indeedy. Right off the bat, this thing is all about the power. That's a 382 horsepower, 354 pound-feet of torque, four-cylinder turbo engine. Makes it the most powerful four-cylinder turbo for sale in showrooms today. It's fed to all four wheels through an 8-speed automatic transmission with paddle shifters, of course. And this should be one stonking ride. Out here on the open road right now, though, I've got things in a little more of a cultured setting. I've set the drive mode to comfort here. On those buttons I showed you in the earlier shot, where you can choose what the buttons on the wheel are doing. I've got the exhaust here. I've turned it to quiet. So we're in the more culture mode, but it still isn't really a culture of a vehicle. It still rides pretty firmly. Of course, the damper settings right now are on their softest. But just as I double check here, it's still quite a firm riding vehicle. These seats are very, very thin to save weight, but they're quite firm. It's definitely a purposeful, we'll say it's a purposeful ride. Space isn't really a problem. This is a big guy, small car review, so we do have to talk about this. I'm surprised by how comfortable it is, how roomy it is. The center console here it doesn't come straight down. There's a bit of kind of like an overhang almost, so there's actually a little more room for my knee here to kind of flare out a bit as I sit, which is something I'm always looking for in smaller vehicles, getting your knee rubbed up against sharp stitching or a like pronounced stitching, or kind of a plastic center console surround can be uncomfortable. One of the more uncomfortable things you can deal with when it comes to smaller vehicles. Not the case here. On headroom, I've got the big guy hat on here. Headroom's not a problem. I've even got the sunroof cover closed. It's a soft cover, so it wouldn't be quite as annoying as some of the firmer covers that most sunroofs have, but still, you don't want your head rubbing up against that, and mine doesn't. So space isn't a problem, but it's firm. It's firm in almost every way here. So in terms of comfort, it's probably not gonna, the CLA-45 is probably not going to win any awards for that. Then again, that's not really what you're buying a CLA-45 for. You're not buying it hoping for a big cloud-like luxury ride. They've got the C-Class, larger C-Class or E-Class for that. But Benz has managed to find a way to at least make it drive more comfortably. By that I mean the damping is a bit firm, but it's not rattling my fillings. I don't have that many fillings, but it's not rattling the ones I do have. It's not brittle by any means, and the steering is not overly nervous. Here, they found a way to kind of dial the steering inputs back in comfort mode here, so that I'm not always having to kind of worry about adjusting, which is nice for this. And people, I think, underestimate how important it is to have a steering rack that is responsive but not overly sensitive, and that's a tough tightrope to walk. And Benz has done a good job of that with that here for sure. And so the dampers coupled with the steering and the way the transmission isn't too kind of nervous, shuffling through gears all the time in comfort mode either, makes it livable on the road for sure. It absolutely makes it livable, but again, not an award winner for comfort. By the way, I'm saying Benz because if I say Mercedes,
how may I help you?
I get that, which of course is annoying when you're trying to shoot a video. Anyway, so I've got the adaptive cruise control, taking all the way down to 0. I've also got lane departure assistance and warning, and I've got road departure mitigation as well. The difference there is lane departure will kind of steer you back on line, vibrate the steering wheel if it senses you're doing it, but if it really senses you're doing it, it'll actually pull you back on line, it'll intervene. Road departure will actually hit the brakes as well, so it'll really kind of pull you back on line too, and which is all great. It's great to have those features. The only thing is I wish they were easier to turn on and off. It's done so by accessing the infotainment menu here, which as I showed before is done via this thumb pad on the steering wheel, or through the touchscreen, or on the touchpad down here. And that's fine, I guess. But here's a top tip for you, Mercedes, because I'm sure you don't have experts paid millions of dollars to figure this kind of stuff out. But anyway, why not use the buttons that are attached to the steering wheel that are used for the suspension settings, exhaust settings, the AMG dynamics, all that kind of stuff? Why not the stuff I showed you before? Why not also have those provide access to the drive controls or the assistance systems as well? Why not? So yeah, you'd have to cycle through a few more menus and hit that button a few more times, but it'd be right there on the screen, and you can turn it on and off right there instead of having to kind of fiddle with the infotainment system here, which I think is a better way of doing it. So there you go. That's how it should be done, according to me. Anyway, so they're all here, and that's great. Makes highway driving that much easier, a little more relaxing when you want it to be. Now that all that's done, it's time to activate sport mode here. Let's see what this baby's really got. Okay, so free of the urban grind traffic and the suburban grind traffic. And now this is where the rubber really meets the road. The nice windy road through the mountains, that is. So here we go, 380 horsepower, all-wheel drive, manual mode selected. Hit it. Woo! Let's turn the exhaust a little bit louder. Oh yes, that is the stuff right there. That's what we're talking about. Woo! So, this is a lot of power, obviously, in a vehicle that really doesn't weigh very much. I don't know the exact weight right now. I'll put it on the screen here when I do find out, but it makes itself scarce. Very, very quickly. Mid-gear acceleration is well, I don't want to say unparalleled, but it's so good. I'm in 5th right now. I bet you I could hit the throttle and still get pushed back into my seat. Oh yeah, like that's fantastic. Yeah, I can get a little more if you drop a cog. There we go. Oh, listen to it. I'm sorry, I didn't realize when I first picked up the CLA-45 that I was picking up a touring car for this test, but that's sure as heck what it sounds like. Oh my god, that's what it feels like too. The steering is so on point. Of course, I've got it in sport mode now, which weighs up the steering a little bit, gives you more turn in on lock, and oh man, it's so immediate. Short wheelbase too, so right left switches are done incredibly quickly and without too much drama. Very flat. Putting it in this mode obviously changes the adaptive dampers as well, firms them up a little bit, so you get very little body roll. So it's just forward progress. This is really, really good. It's like they took a Golf R, a Volkswagen Golf R, gave it some very crazy drugs, and said, let's see what happens. And I'm going to tell you what happens. And this is what happens. Oh my goodness. Oh, what a great road, too. This is the kind of road reviews like this should excel, and this one absolutely is. Smooth, good camber, windy. Oh man, I wish there were more roads like this. I feel like I said every time I test one of these things, but it's so true. Oh man, this is all the power you need anyway. Like this is so fast through here. A little 4-cylinder engine in a little subcompact, well, compact subcompact like this really shouldn't feel this quick. And so planted too. Very little nervousness through the bends here. Tried to shift down there, didn't like that. There we go. Oh man, this is just right on. This is right on. Once you get over the initial shock of just how quick this thing is, I think it's the handling that really, and the chassis that really just keeps on giving. Like, turn-in is instantaneous, and of course when you're in Sport Plus mode like this, it gives you quicker turn-in, it weighs up the steering a little bit for you, so it gives you that much more response, to any kind of lock you might put on, and it changes the damper settings as well, so it keeps the body nice and level through turns. It's going to take a little bit easier here, obviously. Nice and level through turns, so energy isn't wasted on body roll. It's all transmitted to forward thrust, which is kind of the goal for any car, really, is to how to best manage the weight, which again isn't very much in this, but this is really, really, really a performance vehicle. This is the engine is of the one-man, one-engine variety from AMG, which is basically a single engineer kind of puts his stamp on it. He assembles the engine himself, so it's kind of bespoke that way, which is really, really, really kind of cool. And it just, you can just tell these engines, even though this is a 4-cylinder turbo, which are, you kind of feel like are a dime a dozen these days in the car world, it just feels so taut and responsive. They've really managed to kind of align, if you will, the powertrain with the engine, the transmission. It's all very much on the same page to give you just very good response. Wow. I don't know. It really is very good, this CLA-45. Incredibly good. The performance is right there. Unreal powertrain. I love the engine and the transmission in this, even though it's an automatic, and every sports car person can tell you they'd love to have a manual, but let's be honest, those are becoming fewer and far between. Transmission is good. The power it makes is unreal. The handling is spot on. This is a really, really, really well done vehicle. It's a small little car. Yeah, it has its slight shortcomings. It is kind of part of one of the entry level lines at Mercedes. So you've got the doors here that they don't have any frames on the windows, so there is some shake on those doors. You've got, like I said, the ride is definitely not going to win. Not going to win awards for comfort. It's got shortcomings, but every vehicle does. But this vehicle here, with the yellow paint, the cannons, and the black wheels, and all that kind of stuff, this is meant to be a performer. And it is absolutely a performer on a fun road, no question about that. But that's not exactly what we're here for. We're here to see if it works for the big guy or gal in your life. And I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah, space up here is fine. It's firm. Yeah, firm seating, all that kind of stuff. That's not a big guy thing. That's just how it is. But space, which concerns big people, is actually not bad. Even in back, as we showed, yeah, I wouldn't want to spend too much time back there. But the fact that I could actually sit back there, And all I really have to do is take my hat off to avoid having to slouch too much in order to sit comfortably behind the driver's seat. The driver's seat set for my tall frame is actually pretty impressive. And you wonder, where does all that space come from? Because the trunk's not exactly small either. We talked about that. I showed you. There's room in the trunk. Like, they've got it well packaged here. Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, it's, you know, we talked about the cost. It's not inexpensive. That's for sure. It's not. But this is a top spec vehicle of this lineup. And, you know, and it's got the 3-pointed star on the hood. It's got the AMG lettering. It's got the one man, one engine, 4-cylinder motor up front. These are things people are willing to pay for, I think. And the question is, does the sum come to, is it more or at least equal to the sum of its parts? And it absolutely is, and that's the key. Yeah, so good news, big guys and gals. One of the loudest Mercedes on the planet and the most powerful 4-cylinder engine you can get in the showrooms is fit to a vehicle that would work for you. So there you have it. Thanks for tuning into this big guy small car review of the 2020 Mercedes-AMG CLA 45. If you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. If not, no hard feelings. And of course, as always, you can follow me on Twitter at DanTheWheelman, or on Instagram at DanTheWheelman as well. So thanks again for watching, guys. Until next time, sayonara, folks. Big guy signing off.